Good morning, afternoon and evening all. This is Yorkie with episode 2 of my in-depth track guide series. This week looking at the Sepang International Circuit from Kuala Lumpur over in Malaysia. And like the previous episode, we're going to continue with our new format, starting off with the breakdown, then taking a look at the 2 hot laps, and finally finishing off with the setups at the end. So without further ado, let's go into the breakdown and have a look at the Sepang International Circuit. Like with all circuits, you want to try and get the bus run out of the final corner as possible. So what we're going to do, as we come down to the final corner now, gaining control of the car, we're going to keep over to the right. We're going to brake into a completely straight line. We're going to completely miss the apex and create a very late one. We're going to straighten up the wheel as soon as possible. We're going to start draining the curves towards that start-finish line. And of course, don't forget to get your DRS open at the detection point. Running down to turn 1, we're going to slowly bring the car over to the left-hand side, and we're looking for our braking point about 90 metres before the corner, just after the 100-metre board. We're going to be braking hard and shifting down from 7th gear all the way down into 1st. But as we come past the 50-metre board, you want to start easing off the brake a little bit as we continue shifting down the gears, and you're basically going to start turning and trail braking at the same time. You want to be as smooth as possible doing this, as it's very easy to lock those front wheels. So as we come into the corner now, we're looking to hook up our apex roughly mid-corner. Apex speed is about 60 miles an hour, which equates to 95 kilometers per hour, and your apex point should be ever so slightly off the curb. You want to avoid running along the curb as it is very bumpy and it can unsettle the car, so just try and get as close to it as possible. And as you come out through the corner, you're going to start balancing the throttle. You don't want to apply too much power as you've got turn 2 that immediately follows, and you want to keep the car towards the middle of the track to try and open up the second turn. So flicking it into the corner now, we're looking to hook up our apex, which has an apex speed of 60 miles an hour, roughly about 95 kilometers per hour. Again, the apex is midway through the bend, and as you come out of turn 2, you want to start bringing in the power. You don't want to go full throttle straight away, otherwise you just spin the rear wheels, which will hurt your traction. So just gently bring the throttle in as you come up through the gears. Hitting 3rd, you should be full throttle. You want to start draining your curves down to 50%. So come through turn 3 and out the exit towards turn 4. Bring the car ever so slightly right and bring it back left. Our braking point is about 90 metres before the corner, just at the end of the concrete there on the left hand side, and you want to be shifting down from 7th gear all the way down into 2nd. You want to stay off the curb on the left hand side, otherwise it will cause your front wheels to lock, sending you straight on. Coming into our braking zone now, we're going to be braking relatively hard. We're going to shift it all the way down into 2nd. We're going to drop into 1st very momentarily just to gain that extra little bit of turning. And as we come into the corner, we're going to be hooking up our apex on the red and white curbing just here. It's about 75 miles per hour, which equates to 120 kilometers per hour. You want to avoid the white astroturf on the inside, as it can cause the car to bottom out and become unstable. As you come out through the exit, you want to be starting to bring the power in. You want to run out to the curb on the exit, straighten up that wheel, and we're going to go out to the right hand side, and we're going to swing it back left for this long sweeping left-hander. You want to run the curb ever so slightly on the inside here as I'm doing so, and our apex speed is roughly here, so late apex you want to be hitting about 160 miles per hour, which equates to 255 kilometers per hour. Providing you can hook up this late apex, you should have a good run into the long right-hander that immediately follows, and you should be able to take both completely flat out. So bringing the car over to the right now, I've missed the turning point ever so slightly and I'm just off the curb. You should be running the curb here on the inside. Again, the apex speed is 160 miles per hour, which is again 255 kilometers per hour. But as you come out through the exit, you should be still completely flat out. You basically just want to slowly bring the car over to the left hand side of the track, run out wide, use the curb on the exit as we do so here, and keep it completely straight, ready for turn 7. Our braking point is just after the 50-metre board. We're going to be shifting from 6th gear down into 4th, so we're only dropping 2 gears. It's a relatively short braking zone, but as you do so, you want to brake, you want to start to turn in ever so slightly, and you basically want to clip the first curb on the inside, or be just shy of it. Here I've turned in a little bit too early, and I'll be taking a little bit too much curb off, but your front right wheel should be clipping this point here on the curb at 130 miles per hour, which equates to 210 kilometers per hour. As you come out through the exit, you want to keep the car turned in, you want to be bringing the power back in ever so slightly. It should probably be about 75% throttle, it should now be 100% throttle as we come up into turn 8. And again, we should be clipping our front right wheel just on the curb here, with an apex speed of 135 miles per hour, 215 kilometers per hour. As you come out through the exit of turn 8, you want to start straightening up the wheel, bring the car over to the left hand side, use the curb on the exit, but try not to take too much or extend the track, and you go bring the car back over to the right hand side, ready for turn 9. Our braking point is at the 100 metre board, and we're going to be shifting from 6th gear all the way down into 1st. This is a relatively deceptive braking zone. It seems like you can brake it a little bit shorter, but it is very easy to run deep. So braking at the 100-meter board, we're going to be shifting down from 6th into 1st, like I said. We're turning the car in, and you actually want to aim just off the curb on the inside. Our apex speed is 55 miles per hour, 90 kilometers per hour. But stay off the curb on the inside as it can bounce the car. Instead, just use the camber of the corner and also the dip on the inside to help get you turned in. As you come out through the corner, you want to be very patient on the throttle. It's very easy to wheel spin here, so as we come out, bring the car over to the right hand side. You want to start bringing the throttle in. You should be full throttle once you get into 3rd gear. We're going to let the car come over to the left hand side of the track ready for turn 11, but there's no real reference point for the braking, so it's down to pure judgment more than anything. But we're going to be shifting from 5th gear down into 3rd, and you basically just want to kind of cruise up to the corner and just really try and open it up and create a nice smooth shallow line. You want to be looking to the bollard on the inside and use that as a reference as to where the apex is. The apex itself is actually just past the bollard. It's on the red and white curbing, and your apex speed should be about 100 miles per hour, which equates to 160 kilometers per hour. At this point, you should be starting to bring the throttle ever so slightly back in, just balancing it at around 10-20%. But as we continue to run through the corner, you want to bring that throttle in more and more until eventually about 100% as you run over the curb on the exit. Bring the car over to the right to open up turn 12. It's completely flat out, just kiss the curb on the inside there. Turn 13 as well is also completely flat out, so just keep a nice smooth flowing line. And as we approach turn 14 now, it should be over towards the right hand side of the track. Our braking point is at the concrete on the right hand side of the track there. We're going to be shifting down from 6th gear all the way down into 2nd. You want to try and keep the wheel as straight as possible as you brake in this zone, as it's very easy to lock that front right wheel as you are turning and braking at the same time. Let the car just drift over to the left of the track and then bring it back over to the right into the apex of the corner, which is on the red and white curbing on the inside here. The apex speed should be about 80 miles per hour, which equates to 130 kilometers per hour. At this point, you should start to be bringing the throttle ever so slightly back in. You don't want to just jam it on though, or else you'll run out wide and take the curb too aggressively. So balancing the throttle, it should be full throttle from this point. You basically just want to brush the curb on the outside. Get the DRS open at the detection point. Obviously drain about 10% of the curves to give you that extra little boost coming down this back straight. Bring the car over to the right hand side, and just after the kink in the white line on the right hand side, also just after the 100-meter board, we're looking for our braking point. That's about 80 meters before the corner. We're going to be shifting down from 7th gear all the way down into 1st. You can use 2nd for stability, but 1st gear gives you that extra little bit of acceleration coming out of the corner. So shifting down, unlike at the start of the lap, we're actually going to come into the apex, and your apex should be roughly where the white line crosses across the track and meets the red and white curb on the inside. Your apex speed should be about 70 miles per hour, which equates to 110 kilometers per hour. As you come out through the exit, you should be starting to bring the throttle back in. Obviously, once again, balancing it as you come through the corner, as you open the corner up. Unwind that wheel, get the power down as soon as possible, drain the rest of your curves, obviously open up your DRS at the detection point to complete your lap of Malaysia. So that's a full breakdown of the lap then, and we're now going to move on to the hot lap, where I'm just going to sit quiet and let you guys listen to the engine sounds and also my throttle inputs. So that's the unedited hot lap that I used for the breakdown of this video, and we're now going to move into the wet hot lap. So exactly the same approach as to the dry setup. We're basically just going to come in and we're going to miss completely the apex of the corner. We're going to create a new late one for ourselves, open up that corner, basically try and get the best straight line acceleration as possible, obviously drain the curves before the start finish straight. Approaching turn 1, we're going to be keeping the car over to the left hand side, and you're basically braking at a 100 metre board, just about 5-10 metres earlier than you would usually. Again, first gear, hug the inside but not quite on the curb. Again, same for turn 2, kiss the curb, get the car over to the right hand side, get the power down as soon as possible, drain about 40% of the curves we're going to use this time. So we come up now to turn 4, braking point is at the 100 metre board, shifting down into first gear, and we're going to come out the corner. We're going to use about another 10% of the curves, bring it down to about 50%. Again, this two corners can be completely flat out if you get the right line, and I did lift ever so very slightly there to about 90% throttle as I came through the right hand kink, hooking up these two double right handers perfectly. That's exactly how it should be done. And as we come now towards turn 9, bring the curve to the right hand side, breaking out the 100 metre board, first gear, big blob on the inside there, blocking the apex, making it very difficult to bring it out. A lot of wheel spin on the exit, just power on through it. So coming now through turn 11, hooking that up relatively nicely. Could have been a little bit more aggressive on the exit. Turn 12, again still completely flat out. Same with turn 13. Turn 14 now, braking ever so slightly sooner. The raindrops on the visor there, on the camera, is blocking my view for the apex. This is making it very, very difficult. As we come out through the exit turn 12, we're going to use about 20% of our curves this time. And coming down this long back straight now, coming over to the right hand side, using the kink on the white line there as our reference point for the braking for this final turn, hooking up the exit very, very nicely, probably unnecessarily running over the curb there on the exit, and coming across the start finish line to complete a rather wet lap of Malaysia. So coming into the final part of the video now, we're going to be looking at the setups of both the dry and the wet lap that I did. So for the dry, we're going to be using 3-3 aero both front and back. For our braking, we're going to be using a 49-51% with a high and then standard. Coming into the balance now, we're going to be using a very soft balance with a 1 and then to a 6. Suspension, ride heights is a 1-1, and then again soft with a front spring of 1 and then a 6. These are the gear ratios that I used. And then the gear ratios again in kilometers per hour. And then these are the camber and also the toe. Leave the toe completely as default, camber relatively aggressive. So this is the wet lap now. Slightly more aero with 4-4 wings. Pretty much exactly the same except for one slightly more to the rear balance and obviously a medium brake pressure. Again, slightly stiffer anti-roll bars this time. Same ride height, slightly stiffer springs, again just to get that car a little bit more responsive. Gearbox, these are the gear ratios that I used. And then the gear ratios again in kilometers per hour. And then finally the camber and toe is left again exactly the same as the dry lap. So the setups would be very ideal for sprint race and obviously 25% race distances for equal car settings, and also obviously time trial. If you're planning on going longer for say a league race at about 50% or 100%, use the setup as a solid baseline. Theoretically it should be good for tyre wear because obviously you're using a softer spring stiffness, which obviously improves traction and also reduces that tyre wear. You probably can reduce the camber ever so slightly. However, obviously due to the long sweeping corners, having a very aggressive camber can really help to provide that mid-corner grip. Of course, don't forget to do some adjustments as well to your own driving style, as this does suit my driving style very nicely. However, yours may differ from mine, so your setups will need to be adjusted ever so slightly here and there, just to take into account obviously your comfort. Try and get that perfect lap whilst also trying to reduce that tyre wear where possible. So that's going to conclude this video. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Of course, don't forget to leave the track guide a rating, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for plenty more F1 content in the future. I shall hopefully see you soon, guys. Take care.